Guys, what's going on? So I've been doing some testing with ear protection. And look, if you ride a motorcycle for any real length of time, it becomes readily apparent that some kind of hearing protection is an absolute must, because without it, you end up getting all that buffeting, just beating your eardrums to death, giving you a headache, a little bit of ringing in your ears. Sometimes it can be as bad as maybe messing with your equilibrium, and we can't have that. So for the short-term and the long-term protection of your hearing, it's best that you use some type of a protection. It's not really to help protect you from the noise of your bike, although some of y'all got some obnoxiously loud machines. It is primarily for the buffeting and the wind. So most folks, when they first get started on using ear protection, you fall into this. You'll fall into the old school, trusty, foamy earplugs. And the way that these work, supposed to anyway, is that you'll take your foamy, you'll kind of twist it down like this, crimp it down a little bit, get it to where you can put it into your ear hole, and there you'll start to hear the thing. It almost sounds like popcorn. You'll hear it start to expand a little bit to fill in your ear canal, and once you get it in there, it stays in there okay initially, and it does help to quell a lot of that buffeting off of your eardrum. But the one issue that I had when I was doing all of this testing was that the foamies, as good as they are initially, they have a weird habit of kind of coming out of your head. And I found that several times I would have installed those things into my ears pretty well, only to, after say 30 minutes or so, have this thing start to find its way out, or it'd get a little bit cocked because of, the helmet maybe moving slightly on my head somehow. Whatever the case was, it would no longer be really functional at being an earplug. And at that point, it just became a nuisance. I'd have one side of my head feeling like it was getting buffeted while the other side was fine and protected. So as far as how well these work, initially and in the short term, they're not bad at all. And this is really where a lot of folks will find themselves long term. And it makes sense. Look, you can get a bag like this for next to nothing on any of the online providers out there, right? So super cheap. They do seem to work, but they're not all that great in terms of consistency. So what's next? Well, next I tried these little silicone, looks like push pins almost, and they work just like what you would expect. There's not a whole lot of stiffness here either. These are real pliable, and when they go into your ear, they just kind of slide up in there, and there you go. They're very comfortable, very light, and the main thing that I noticed is that long term, I didn't have any problems necessarily with these coming out of my ear, although they just didn't really fit that well to begin with. So the trade-off was either have a set of foamies that fit great initially, but then could sometimes, but not all the times, wiggle their way out of my head, or go with something more along the lines of this thing, which they're comfortable enough, but they just didn't fit all that well. And although they never slid out of my ear, they also didn't really seem to give a whole lot of protection in terms of decibels. Oh, that's the other thing. These things are typically rated in decibels. In other words, how much they'll protect your ear. The bigger the number, the better. So these foamies were checking in at 32 decibels of protection. These little push pin looking things were checking in at 25. But I got to tell you, in practice, the little silicone push pin things felt like, or seemed like anyway, they were only doing about half the job that the foams were. So there is a third in the test, and that is the relatively expensive, what is that? Artivive, I guess is how you say that. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Now, these things are pretty expensive. You've probably seen advertisements for these things on any of the social media, and they're going to check in for about 27 bucks for two. You kind of get a buy one, get one deal, I think, right now. At any rate, how well do these things work? And how does the packaging come? Well, I'll tell you this. The packaging's pretty slick. Comes with a protective case. You get those inserts to fit the specific size of your ear. Here's that other one here. You get the case. This thing just pops right open. And there you go. You get these little guys. And at first glance, they don't look all that substantial. I mean, that's it. I mean, there's really nothing to this, right? And if you look at the material, it doesn't seem like there's really much more going on there than what was going on with this push pin thing. But if there's any similarity at that point, believe me, it's strictly visual, because these are amazing. And look, I'm not getting paid to do any kind of advertisement for these guys. I'm just bringing you some factual content. If you value your hearing long-term and short-term, get you a set of these. Check it out. So this is the little guy here, and the way they fit is you basically stick them in your ear with that white ring kind of facing up, and that's it. And I can tell you this, you can barely even see them, but they are incredibly effective. You can't really even hear your fingers moving around the way that you can with the other hearing protection. And I can tell you, as far as coming out of my head, that ain't happening with these things. They're incredibly comfortable and they fit exceptionally well. And again, you can custom size these things with all those little inserts that come with it. But the main takeaway with these is that not only are they very comfortable and stay put where you put them, but they do way better than this 27 decibel rating would have you believe, especially if you're coming from these foamies that are rated at 32 or these things at 25. I'll put it to you like this. These things rated at 27 felt like they were at least double as good as the foams. And because they're so much more comfortable, you don't really even realize that you're wearing them, and they do such a phenomenal job at quelling any kind of buffeting. It made riding my motorcycle nice. Oh, and by the way, I wasn't just putting around on this thing. I had that Gixxer Thou out today, and we were buzzing along at deep into triple digit numbers. And again, no buffeting, no weird feelings, no inconsistency with fitment, none of that whatsoever. So yes, they are expensive. And I gotta tell you, I was extremely skeptical, but again, worth the money. If you value your hearing short-term and long-term, I highly suggest you go with a quality set of earplugs. Listen, in the short term, it makes riding a lot more comfortable, and it really does help you to focus. And that was the other thing, because we're doing some things on motorcycles that sometimes we shouldn't. You need all the focus you can get. The last thing you need to be thinking about is how your one side of your head's getting buffeted, or you've got some hearing protection that isn't really doing its job. Long-term riding, especially if you're just stacking on miles, that rider fatigue that having ear protection in will help to quell that quite a bit. And also protecting your hearing long-term is an essential step in making sure that your long-term health is taken care of. But if you're gonna be spending money, go ahead and spend the extra money. Get you a quality set of earplugs. Again, these guys aren't paying me, but these were really good. There are others that are out there that are equal to the task, I'm sure, but you're gonna have to spend some coin to get the right ones. The other ones here, man, I don't know. Save these for doing yard work or something like that. Get something serious. Protect those ears, guys. Hopefully that helps you out. Post up your comments. Let me know what you guys are rocking for ear protection. Thanks for stopping by. We'll hope to see you on the next one.